All right, welcome everybody. It is April 1st, and we are working on a topic this morning with MSS, Disability Awareness and Hiring, that I have termed in the asset category. And these are our annual sponsors bringing this exciting show to us today. Ideal Printers and DV Creative, Harrington Langer Associates at State Farm, Juan Cervantes and his office on Ruth there, the Sane Foundation, M Health Fairview, Ladine Law, St. Paul Federal Credit Union, the St. Paul Port Authority, Highway, Metropolitan State University, Sunrise, and Walters Recycling and Refuse. We've got an awesome opportunity to have a sponsor or two on the call. There's Tanya Bauer from the St. Paul Port Authority. Hi, Tanya. Other ESABA board members, just give a wave real quick. Let's kind of introduce those folks. Shatika Flowers, Tanya, and Randy Bloom is also a board member, though he's serving a different capacity today. Thanks, Randy, for not, I'm not sure I want to be a part of that group. What, Randy? Come on. All right, and we've got some regulars back on the show and some new folks this time too, so that's exciting. If you are a part of an Eastside nonprofit, go ahead and give us some acknowledgement. Give us a wave. All right, we've got Eastside Arts. We've got Randy from MS, the Midwest Special Services. We've got Jean from Cornerstone. We have Elaine from Hazel Park Learning Center. I can get all of our nonprofits. Shatika Flowers from Family Values for Life. Rachel Speck from the Employment Exchange, Eastside Employment Exchange. Welcome, everybody.
I'm here too. I'm just off
Andrea,
camera.
I see you. You're gonna have your camera on. No sweat.
Yeah.
We're so glad you're here, Andrea from Family Values for Life as well. Terrific. If you work at an Eastside business or run an Eastside business, give us a wave. We've got Jorge from Sunray BP. We've got Kai from Aflac. We've got Nate from 11 Wells. That's what we got. That's great. That's terrific. Katie, Matson Daly, that's the Beloved Church. So welcome back to the show. It's good to see you. Nonprofit, slightly different category. All right. Let's see who else we have. We've got Chris Shapira from the St. Paul Firefighters Foundation. Also a nonprofit, I think. Are you a 501c3, Chris? Yeah, totally. Okay. I just missed you in the nonprofit zone. All right, we've got some city staff that I'm totally excited about. If you're a city staff person, let's just go ahead and say hi to you all right now too. Hi, Jenna. Hi, Steph. Hi, Polly. Fantastic. So we've got, and that's Joan, I think Stephanie said. And Kristen. Kristen is also, there's Kristen too. So welcome city staff, city council members, offices represented that represent the East Side, Nelsie Yang's office, Jenna, Jane Prince's office, Stephanie and Polly. Joan and Kristen, tell us about where you're from.
Hi, this is Kristen Kojal. I work in Councilmember Dytow's office, so Ward 1.
Welcome to the show. We're always happy to have folks from Ward 1 come and shop on the East Side. Okay, what about you, John?
It's Joanna, and I work in the City Council Legislative Hearing Office.
Okay, Joanna, thank you, and thanks for the clarification. I was challenged there when Steph said your name earlier, and I just didn't.
I go by many things, so it's all good.
Well, welcome. By whatever name you go by, you're welcome on the East Side. So we're glad you're all here. We're going to get started right away with Randy Bloom from MSS and our topic for today. But I want to let you know, I'm going to drop the, I'm going to drop our agenda in the chat in a second when I don't have to talk and do it at the same time. So you'll be ready for that. And I want to remind you that we've got some announcements today, and we also have our Assistant Fire Chief coming on to tell us a little bit about civil unrest preparation from the fire department's perspective. That was a request from last week's meeting, which was just great. Somebody kind of mentioned it, and Chris Shapira thought that was a good idea, and Kurt Hallstrom, our senior commander, said, well, why don't I just call the fire department and see if I can get somebody on? And so he did. And the Assistant Chief Simpson will be on with us at 11:45. So just as you know, our topic will go until 11:45 today. Then we'll have the Assistant Chief come on and talk to us a little bit. He's got 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll be available afterward just to do questions. If anybody wants to stay on and hang out, completely understanding it's a little bit outside of our regular tight 1 hour time frame. So, but everyone's welcome, and that's kind of the way that we're going to roll this morning. So anything else kind of on top before we get started? Here comes our agenda. And then Randy, I'm going to make you the host and just welcome you to get us started.
Okay, let's see if we can screen share here. All right, then we're gonna pop this out a bit, I think.
You'll want to enable editing.
Let's see here. That screen thing.
Yep. So Randy, you'll want to enable editing up here in the center of the screen in that yellow bar. I bet that'll help. Now you're not screen sharing anymore.
Try again here.
Okay, no sweat.
About that.
You'll see, Randy, that right in the middle of the screen is an enable editing button. It's white on the yellow bar. And I think that's what will allow you to get in and work the
All right, let's see.
controls.
There we go. How's that?
Oh, perfect.
Great.
I'll just remind folks that we're using the chat feature today. And if you want to drop questions or comments in the chat, you also can go ahead and put a little word of introduction about yourself if you want to just include a little detail about your organization, name or contact information. Just drop that in the chat and I'll be watching that, Randy, for you. So if there are questions, I can help you surface those.
Okay, let me
Take it away.
Get my page. Well, let's see, now my page down's not working here. What the heck's going on? And my arrow's gone. Wow. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see here. Now it's still not gonna cycle here. Oh, goodness sakes. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're rolling. Well, thank you. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes, Randy, you look good.
All right, sounds good. Let me get some thumbnails up here so I can get some faces. Well, thank you. I wanted to and thanks, Paris, for the opportunity. My name is Randy Bloom, and I work for an organization called MSS. We are a 501c3 nonprofit located on the east side off of East 7th Street and Ocean Street. And our organization provides day program services and employment services for adults with developmental challenges. We have 6 metro locations based on the east side, as I mentioned, and we serve about 600 individuals with disabilities. And goals are to try to create opportunities to integrate them into the community so that they can experience the community and get out and about. And then we also have a very strong employment program where folks come to us and their goals in their life are to take the next step, find employment. And so we have a very, very strong employment services function. My role is to try to create business partnerships for both ends, both community partnerships and also business partnerships with the goal to have our folks achieve employment, people that we serve. So I just wanted today to do a couple things. One is to now it's not, oh, my pagers, there we go. So yeah, this is the start page. So why are we here? Well, we're here to do a couple things. One is to try to recognize as we move back out of the pandemic and into hopefully an opportunity where everybody's trying to find workers, and I know that's still going on quite a bit, but to recognize an untapped, talented workforce of individuals who, my experience has been, they are very, very motivated to work and to be good employees. Earning a paycheck for the people we serve is an accomplishment for many of those, and those funds that they receive, of course, we typically will deploy those individuals out to communities, and we will have them earn minimum wage or higher in a lot of cases to help them be able to earn some discretionary income. Benefits of hiring people with disabilities. I want to review some of the Some of the benefits of hiring, there are some incentives for employers as well if you do hire someone with a disability. Hiring and recruiting talented workforce, some tips on what to do as you might be interviewing someone per se with a disability. And then finally, some communication tips as well, just some general things to keep in mind as we're engaging with members of that community. Do you know someone with a disability? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, probably just about everybody knows somebody with a disability, either physical disability or perhaps other disabilities as well, some of which, of course, are not obvious. But I think most of us know somebody with a disability. There's over 56 million people in the US with a disability. And in fact, they comprise the largest minority group population in the United States. 85% of people with a disability were not born with that disability. That can give all of us pause, because what that means is there's a lot of people with disabilities who have acquired them over their lives. Could be traumatic brain injury, could be stroke, could be other things that will create a situation where a person now has that challenge. The statistic below, which gives us pause as an organization, of course, this is what we're working against, is that 65% of people with a disability are unemployed. And many of those people are talented and are seeking work. The untapped workforce that we want to bring awareness to. Breaking down the barrier, there's a couple myths out there regarding employees who may have a disability, and myth number one is hiring a person with a disability increases worker compensation rates. The fact is in insurance rates that businesses out there, your businesses are paying, are solely based on the relative hazards of the operation and the organization's accident experience. It is not at all based on whether a worker has a physical challenge or a developmental challenge. Another myth is employees with disabilities have higher absentee rates than employees without disabilities. Again, that is shown not to be true. Studies have shown employees with disabilities not absent more than any other employees without disabilities. In fact, I've seen our people come in where they clearly, and this is pre-COVID, clearly shouldn't be at work because they're feeling ill, but their motivation is such that they want to come in and work. So I think as you consider hiring a person with a disability, that they can be absolutely dedicated workers and can get the job done. Accommodating workers, accommodations, and we'll talk a little more about this as we move forward, but accommodating workers with disabilities costs employers too much. The fact is most workers with disabilities require no special accommodation, and costs for those who do typically are minimal. 15% cost nothing, and over half cost under $500 for a potential accommodation. We'll talk more about accommodations here as we move on. Persons with disabilities are inspirational and courageous for overcoming their disability. Fact is that people with disabilities are carrying on with their daily lives, just like the rest of us, just like everyone else. They're working, they're recreating, they're paying their bills, and of course they're spending time with their families and other people within their relationships, just like everybody else. There's categories of disabilities acquired, as I mentioned, 85% of the population, brain injury, loss of limb, loss of sight or hearing, 85%. Congenital is a term used, disability acquired since birth, and typically those are developmental in challenge, but can also include combinations of physical and developmental disabilities. Developmental, of course, autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy are a couple of the diagnoses that can be developmental in nature. And then non-apparent disabilities, which could be different sets of mental challenges, depression, etc., and other diagnosis as well, non-apparent disabilities. Recruiting and hiring. Benefits of hiring people with disabilities. Again, attracting and retaining skilled workers in what's been a very tight market. And as we kind of look ahead, we're seeing that market is continuing to tighten. We're actually back in a hiring mode right now after being shut down. We furloughed over 90% of our staff. I think we had 160. And last March 17th, we went down to 13 on our staff, but we are now back and actually in a hiring mode right now to try to find staff members who are dedicated and skilled to serving the folks that we serve in the community. High productivity, low turnover workers. Again, I think that a lot of the individuals that are challenged become very, very good workers and really have a special appreciation for the opportunity to work. And of course, there's compliance with federal contracts. If you happen to be federal contractor, there are regulations regarding compliance with disability hiring in terms of being able to maintain a federal contract. Tax incentives. I posted a link below to some tax incentives for organizations and companies who are hiring individuals with disabilities. And there's a lot of information there. So I would just encourage you as you're recruiting and hiring to be aware that there are certain tax incentives for bringing a person with challenges onto your payroll. And of course, by hiring somebody with a disability, we're creating more taxpayers for the system. And that's a good thing. Understanding the ADA, and ADA is a regulation that prohibits discrimination against qualified individuals with disabilities in job application procedures, hiring, firing, advancement, compensation, job training, and other terms, conditions, and privileges of employment. And again, the ADA, not unlike regulations for other communities as well, communities of color. The ADA also requires employees to provide reasonable accommodations to allow employees with disabilities to do their jobs. As we just look at overall defining a disability, an individual with a disability is a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. That's a broad category. They also would have a record of such impairment or is just regarded as having that impairment. So broad definition of a person with a disability. Accommodations. Reasonable accommodation is something that the ADA requires and really is assistance or changes to a work position or workplace that will enable an employee to do his or her job despite having a disability. Now, there are some limitations to what an employer is required to provide, and I'll try to cover that here. What is unreasonable? That would be the next question. And the ADA defines unreasonable as that which would create undue hardship for the employer. Example would be changing the nature of the job. You have a job description, you're hiring an individual to complete that job. Does not, the regulations do not require you to change the nature of that job in terms of who you're looking to hire. Secondly, the person poses a direct health safety risk to themselves or coworkers, and that would be that would fall under what would be considered unreasonable in terms of hiring. Entails handling over, if hiring a person with a disability entails handing over essential job functions to another employee, that is also considered unreasonable and is not required on the part of an employer. Or if it entails creating a new job for the individual. Actually, we have a lot of employers who actually are willing to look at this because what we call it is a job carve out. They've got some highly skilled workers, and the highly skilled workers might be working on things that don't require that level of skill. And in terms of looking at the bottom line, they can find that if they carve out some of those lower skills, they can have perhaps a person with a disability take those on, and then allow that person with the higher skill levels to be more efficient and productive and coming out ahead on the bottom line. So job carve-outs are certainly something that is possible, but it is not required. And but we do encourage employers to look at the big picture in terms of your operation. Notes to employers: employer generally does not have to provide a reasonable accommodation unless an individual asks for one. If they do, the information should and must, I think would probably be a better word, should be held confidentially within your organization and not shared. Candidates may choose, job candidates may choose or not choose to disclose their disability. And that's just, again, there's a lot of disabilities out there that aren't readily obvious. And employers, of course, we all just want to respect the person's choice to disclose. If a candidate chooses to disclose their disabilities, as you're recruiting and talking to people and making hire decisions, it's okay or best to ask the individual, is there any reason your disability would impact your ability to do the job successfully? That's if someone says, well, I'm dealing with this, or this is one of the disabilities that I have or challenges that I have. It's just a very, very good question. Any reason that your disability would impact your ability to do the job successfully. It is okay to ask, what do you need? Or is there anything we can assist you with to do your job successfully? And this also applies to an employee who might acquire a disability. They're already an employee, and you may be faced with some of these challenges as well. Recruitment tips for employees. Post job openings where candidates might see them. Candidates with disabilities. There's a lot of great resources, a lot of organizations that are actively engaged in trying to connect people with challenges to employers needing employees. One of our favorites, and we have a great partnership, is Disability in Minnesota. There's a link attached to the PowerPoint, and I'm glad to share that and others as well. The VA, Veterans Employment Resource Group, and if you have a job posting, send it over to Angela Sherburne, a great person who's partnered with us as well, and she's down at the VA. So job openings are certainly something she'd be interested in posting amongst her population of veterans with disabilities. National resources as well. A couple links there as well, just to be able to gain some more information on topics, employers and hiring people with disabilities and the employer's responsibilities. Just some recruitment tips for employees, and this, of course, covers not just the population of persons with disabilities, but include disability in your diversity statement, and make sure that you include them along with the other populations within your diversity statement. Make sure your online application is accessible to screen readers. If you're using online application, there's a lot of technology right now that will make that application accessible to screen readers, and screen readers are valuable for someone who may be sight impaired and then can be able to fill out an application. Having applications available in other formats, large print, offer candidates the option to self-disclose on the application. That will, and some may choose to, some may choose not to. Those that choose to disclose would give you an indication of some of the things that maybe you could set up to accommodate an interview, for example, making sure that you have a room that's big enough for, someone who uses a wheelchair to have that wheelchair accessible. And train your hiring managers on reasonable accommodations process and maybe some of the information I'm sharing with you today. I'm also available if somebody would like to inquire about doing some of this training for your employees. Please reach out. I'd be glad to help. Interviewing tips: host interviews in accessible rooms, as I mentioned. Describe the interview process. Ask candidates if they'd like to request an accommodation. You can ask that of all candidates. Ask all candidates if they can complete the essential job functions with or without an accommodation. So these are all just general tips you can ask every candidate that applies for or you're interviewing for a position. And again, make sure your hiring managers are aware that candidates may disclose a disability. Hiring managers should be able to communicate the internal process for making accommodation requests. You may have somebody who is employee suddenly decide to disclose their disability. Make sure your hiring managers know what the next step would be to get that information confidentially to those who know. Hiring tips, again, communicating with new hires the process for requesting accommodations. Work to get the accommodations in place by the first day of employment. Always helpful, and that goes with any employee. Everybody wants to come in and have a workstation or desk or whatever might be set up ahead of time. No different if you're hiring somebody with a challenge. Provide training again to hiring managers around how to respond if an employee discloses a disability or requests an accommodation. Communication tips, and these some of these might be just common sense, but I'll go over them as well. You know, we want to try to respect individuals with disabilities, and there are what we call person-centered language or person-first language, where simply we're referring to a person who uses a wheelchair in place of this person is wheelchair bound or something such as that. Person with a hearing or sight loss versus using terms deaf or other terms that might come to mind as well. Person with a developmental delay is also something that is certainly acceptable. And of course, we're always trying to avoid what I'll call the R word and the H word, and I'll let you all kind of figure that one out. Why use person first language? Well, it just really, again, just shows respect to the individual you're talking with and about. Gives the person dignity, and every one of us wants to be respected and have dignity. Person first language is not labeling, and of course I think that's important as well as we're engaging with everybody. Acknowledging people's abilities versus their disability. Again, the populations that are out there that are readily willing to be hired have some great abilities, and it does come down to matching those abilities with the job that the employer has. There's no question about that. And of course, person-centered or person-first languages should be about our actions as well, treating everybody as a human being. So just to summarize, using person-first language, always speak directly to the person. There are situations where a person may come in to interview. They may have a sign language interpreter with them, or they may have a caregiver with them, or somebody who's there just to support their needs, and just to maintain eye contact with the individuals you're speaking to them. So always okay to offer assistance to somebody, but rather than just jump in and do it ahead, always ask for if they want to be helped or assisted, and wait till the offer is accepted. Don't be hesitant to ask questions when unsure what to do. And of course, treat adults as adults and relax. Mistakes happen. I still once in a while, person first language isn't the first thing I'll use, and mistakes happen, and you can always offer an apology if you slip up. So we're all human in that respect. Points to remember: many benefits of hiring people with disabilities. Disability impacts millions, as we have seen, and not all disabilities are visible. I should also mention too, for the businesses out there, the population of people with disabilities is a huge market for your services and businesses. So try to think of ways to be able to provide ways that people with disabilities who are your customers can come in and take advantage of your business and or services. Train your hiring managers on disclosure and accommodations, and educate your workforce about disability disclosure and reasonable accommodations. Again, I'm willing to help. Working with a disability service provider. So that's really what MSS does. We work on what's called person-centered planning. In other words, the individuals that come to our programs, our efforts to support them are driven by their desires and what their goals are, very simply put. We also, with our staff, as we're helping individuals search, look for jobs, make their resumes up, secure interviews, we want to match their desires and their skills to your job requirements. So if you think that you'd want to engage with someone like MSS, there's multiple organizations doing what we do around town. A lot of them have various candidates with various skill levels. I'd encourage you to reach out to that network, and I can help connect you with that too. And then I think we do a very good job of matching our individuals we serve, their desires to work and what they want to do, their skills and abilities, match that to the employer's needs. That's a win-win for everybody. Service providers also, if you work with a service provider, you decide that you want to give one of the candidates, for example, at MSS, you want to give them a shot at the job, we will continue to provide ongoing support after the hire. And that actually, in our case, means a one-on-one working with that individual for a period of time to make sure that they're understanding the job requirements, that they're applying the skills that they have, and of course to support the employer and make that hire a success. Extremely valuable when an employer steps up and hires someone from our program. We want to support that and make it successful. With that, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity today, and I've just touched on some points, but I wanted to again extend that invitation. If anyone has need for just some awareness training with amongst your staff, your hiring managers, or if there's others within your network who are looking for resources, please reach out. And I'll mention kind of last, I'm wearing my MSS shirt here, but nothing inappropriate, but I've got my family values for life right here. So Shatika, thank you and your team for that shirt. And call me anytime. My cell phone is there. And if anybody wants to reach out for more information, I am absolutely willing to help. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Randy. I've got some questions, but I also just want to invite folks who want to ask a question to go ahead and do so. I'm going to scan the chat again and just see if we've got any questions in the chat. I don't see any particular questions in the chat. I also wanted to, and I can't see the names at the moment, but the representative today who is on from the Eastside Arts Council, who we were talking earlier, since this is your second meeting, I'd love to just give you a chance to introduce again. So I want to get Randy going, but we've got a couple minutes here. Randy, if you will stop screen sharing, I can see people again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just switched over the host here for you.
Oh, you did. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, and there we go.
There we go. Okay, an opportunity to do some introductions. Oh, I think she's jumped off. Okay, no sweat. All right, let's have some questions and make some contacts here and see if we can dive in. I want to ask Randy if there are particular East Side organizations that you work with pretty regularly, to give folks an idea of who you're also. Oh, no, you're back. Okay, East Side Arts Council. Hi, welcome back to the show.
Hi, my name is Lilia. I'm the outreach coordinator. You can call me L. I realize Lilia doesn't work great for Americans. I'm Swedish, so. Yeah, I'm the new outreach coordinator at the East Side Arts Council.
Great.
And yeah.
And lovely to have you on the show. East Side Arts Council is a longtime ESABA member, and it's just cool to have, your participation. So thanks for being on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And Lilia, thank you for saying your name again. Like I was like, oh, I'm not going to say that.
I don't blame you. No, I don't blame you. It's definitely not easy.
Well, we shouldn't be so challenged. It's not like we have never met Swedish people before. Here we are in Minnesota after all, but hey. So yeah, Randy, thank you. Other questions? And just want to invite folks, drop your questions in the chat if you have them particularly. Randy, I'll ask you a couple here. So, Gene, so talk for just a second about folks that you look for and who you're working with, employers that you're working with on the East Side.
Yeah, what I can say is you know, we will cover the entire metro area, or not the entire. Well, not that might be a little bit of an overstatement, but yeah, currently we are working with some direct hires. One of the in fact, their ESABA members, Culver's, has been just fabulous. They've hired several people from our program. We've provided them with the support that they need to work on their jobs. And I'll tell you what, if anybody is interested to learn about their experience, please contact Culver's over off of White Bear, or it was White Bear Avenue, Paris. I got the location right there.
Yeah, it's the one on Ruth.
And the name's escaping me, the manager.
Doug Swalbowski.
Doug Swalbowski has been just fabulous. He comes back to us continually to hire folks to take care of some of those kind of those customer service needs and things like that.
Terrific. I wanted to ask, so Jean has a question about the ADA. For the Americans with Disability Act compliance for buildings, Jean, do you want to elaborate? She's asking, does it vary by county or state? Is it federal?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I know that what I do now, I could get some different information, but I know that certainly if you're putting up a new facility or even moving into a new one and doing some refurbishing and things like that based on having to pull a permit for that particular location, that there probably are requirements for accessibility. Now, that doesn't mean that, let's say you have a 2-story location, that you have to build an elevator into that location for accessibility. That would be what's considered an unreasonable accommodation. So I would check with the local city is I think probably in charge of most of the certificates that are issued for building and remodels and things like that to get the latest on what they might require. It's a great question to ask if you're undergoing a renovation or need to pull permits or putting up a new facility.
Terrific. Thanks, Randy. Jean, do you want to follow that at all? Okay.
No, good. Thank you very much.
Terrific. I want to ask city staff too, happy to have you all on today. Are there particular issues in this domain that you're looking at or a reason for the interest right now? Jenna or Steph, since I know you best.
Hi, Paris.
Hi.
Jane was at a previous meeting and suggested that our city council team might be interested in this training. And I wasn't aware that it was so focused on the hiring aspect, but I think it was still helpful to think about generally interacting with the people with disabilities in the community. We have a colleague who has recently become disabled and is returned. Well, she's working home. We're all working at home, but she's preparing to come back to the office in a new way. And so I thought that would be I was thinking about this presentation through that lens of interacting with our newly disabled colleague.
Terrific. Yeah, thanks for the context, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Many of the aspects of this I think are helpful generally. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, reach out, Stephanie, reach out directly to me if I can connect you with someone in our organization who can maybe have some ideas and understand the challenge of making sure that relationship with your employee can continue. And I think it's something that we might be able to offer some advice with as you're going through that particular journey.
And then I want to ask Rachel Speck from the Eastside Employment Exchange, and we're getting ready to transition. I see that we have Assistant Chief Simpson on with us. Welcome, sir. We're glad you're here. And Senior Commander Kurt Hallstrom is also going to be able to join. He's in a meeting right now, but you'll see his tile down there. Rachel, I wanted to just ask you ways that your folks who are helping connect employees and employers think about this issue, and whether working with MSS is something you already do, or it just caused me to think about you also making a lot of these matchups happen and organizations that are a part of the exchange doing that too.
Yeah, Randy and I definitely have had conversations about connecting a little bit more. In my work with our members and our job counselors, disability hasn't come up, but I think that's mostly because their funding sources are not dedicated to serving folks with disabilities. And we know folks who do have disabilities need very targeted and dedicated support. So.
Got it. Totally makes sense there too. Randy, finally, you mentioned that folks that are seeking for employees can post their jobs on particular sites that you're working with. And Rachel, this dovetails too in that same domain. The Ramsey County Job Board, I'm wondering if your job seekers are also looking for things on the Ramsey County Job Board and how those systems integrate these larger ways that folks are looking out there and where the overlap is or isn't, that we could work on in a more intentional way with persons seeking employment who have a disability. Did I get the person-centered language right there? Thoughts, Randy, about that comprehensive job board?
I'd love to take a look at it and see if there's a way we can work together on it. Yeah.
Okay. That's a nice place for follow-up for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andrea from Family Values for Life just asked, Randy, do you have people who are also looking for volunteer opportunities? And then we're going to shift gears.
Yeah, I would, if somebody is interested in volunteering with MSS, please reach out to me. I would love to connect you with our volunteer coordinator. Yeah, we would love to see if we can create some opportunities. And I know that there definitely are some, and particularly on a program side of things where we're creating community activities and different things for folks to engage with. So yeah, we have a huge arts program. If anybody is interested in creating art, we have a very extensive creative arts program for the folks that we serve. And please reach out. And also if anybody knows of people looking for work and they think that a career within our industry might be desirable, we are also recruiting very heavily for new staff members as well. We've got jobs open right now.
Andrea, did that answer your question, or were you thinking about volunteering in a different way?
Actually, yes, but I was actually thinking though too, if there are anyone who wants to volunteer with Family Values for Life, as well as we have quite a few different events that are coming up, and we're always looking for volunteers. But on the flip side, we do have some people in our other group that I'm thinking of that do like to volunteer in other ways.
Yeah. Having folks in our programs side of our organization be able to help Family Values for Life in your volunteer opportunities. Yes, let's get together, and I will inquire in our program side of how that might be able to work. Great idea.
All right, there's some other great comments in the chat. We're out of time, and I want to shift gears a little, but Jenna makes a comment about person first language. And Jenna, I wonder if you'll elaborate on that a little if you want to in the chat. She says she thinks it's important to stress honoring the language used by each person with a disability to particular identities, thinking of deaf and autistic. Persons with hearing loss is where Randy went with that before. Does that sync up with what you're thinking, Jenna?
Oh, I just wanted to kind of point out those two. I know within like the deaf community, capital D, that's a really important identity for some folks. And so saying they are deaf, capital D, might be a choice, and that it would be useful to honor the choice. And I know person with autism is something that's commonly used by Autism Speaks, which is has a lot of controversy behind it. And I know there's a lot of folks who really prefer autistic versus person with autism. So I can agree with maybe a general trend of person first language in some cases, but I think it's important to stress that using the language the person identifies with.
Fantastic, thank you for clarity.
Yeah.
I want to introduce, and then Randy, Rachel asked, once you're finished, which is now, would you put up the website, the web posting website that you shared, the Disability In and Angela from the VA? Would you just post those two? I think those
post those to the chat. Absolutely.
Okay, I want to help us shift gears here. I put a couple of announcements in the chat as well, including an announcement from Darren Varley about a really cool podcast that's up on the Golden Shovel site that includes an entrepreneur from the East Side, the creator of Ice Cream Bow Ties. So that's in the chat. And we've got another nonprofit meeting coming up that I'll be sharing over the next couple of weeks. We'll be talking about April 15th. Elaine and Jean and I are organizing a sequel. But right now I want to turn it over to our Assistant Fire Chief. Assistant Chief Simpson, welcome to the show. Welcome to ESABA. This is a friendly group, and we're so glad that you're on with us today. We have Chris Shapira from the St. Paul Fire Foundation, which may be familiar to you. Chris, if you want to say hi, go ahead.
Hi, Chris. I'll say hi to Chris first.
Okay, you beat her to it.
Yep.
Good night.
We are excited to hear what you have to share. We have had Senior Commander Hallstrom on for a couple of weeks talking about the preparations in the midst of the trial here for potential civil unrest. And last week it was suggested by a member, and Chris seconded this, and Senior Commander reached out to the chief, and we just so appreciate your being here. So would it be helpful if I just had you capable of sharing your screen? If I made you the host, would that work? Do you have some slides to share, or tell me?
You know, I think I'm not going to share a screen. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, so I think I'll just talk through it, Paris, if that's okay with you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on. And just to let you know, we have an open agenda here, and folks may come or go depending on whether or not they need to bounce out at noon. But we're available. If you're available to stay on with us and answer questions after you're done, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. Again, Paris and all the attendees on the group, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys and let you know a little bit about what the fire department's doing in preparation for the upcoming, potential of what we saw and visited last year with the civil unrest. We learned a few lessons last year, and one of which was the St. Paul Police Department. We've had a fantastic relationship with them over the years. And last year we put them to the test of providing a little bit extra security with all the ways that they were being pulled, of course, to keep everybody as safe as possible. But we found that we developed in 2016, after the Philando Castile event, we wrote an SOP to better approach fire scenarios, EMS scenarios that would really, tax not only our system, but also law enforcement, while doing the job that we do to protect the residents and visitors in St. Paul from fire and EMS emergencies. So we wrote an SOP. We have identified that the best way for us to advance our suppression activities as well as emergency medical response is to separate out fire and EMS responses. And normally we don't, we do what they call a dual staff role in the city of St. Paul, which has the same crew. If we go on a fire, we take the fire engine. If we do a medical emergency, we take the ambulance. So that same crew is associated with both responses. With the task force model for fires, what we did was identified where in the city that we can pull resources from to create these task force units, while also being responsible and making sure that there's enough EMS coverage, there's enough supplementary fire resources to respond to just everyday house fires or any other thing that we might find ourselves responding to. The task force model, in conjunction with the security detail that the police department has supported, was identified as a great example of partnership. So we had the partnership, we have a very coordinated and effective response, which assures that everybody in the city is getting those resources. If the city of St. Paul were to run out of or run short on resources, we have very good mutual aid contracts and agreements in place, and we have done so far as reaching out to them on a monthly basis for years that we've done. But we've had some coordinated training, not only with St. Paul Police Department, but also the surrounding agencies that will support those fire those fire needs should that be identified. This year, what we have also realized is that the police are going to be pulled potentially in even greater requirements for providing security details, responding to runs, etc. So we have also partnered, and I think that you guys have more than likely talked about the Minnesota National Guard being present in support of the city of St. Paul and embracing what the police department needs as far as additional support. They are also in turn going to be represented and present at certain number of fire stations throughout the city, and they will be assigned to those task force units if we do need to have that security detail on fire scene. Of course, anybody's guess right now whether or not those events are going to unfold as we plan for, but we have done a great job, I believe, in preparing for that need and being able to respond responsibly, effectively, and of course, safely, so that we can mitigate any scenario that we run into. It's the fire department versus the police department. Everybody knows our roles are significantly different. So we can only do so much planning. We do a ton of training throughout the years to do, whether it's, again, EMS, fire response to businesses or homes. Our EMS responses, we have plenty of paramedics to handle the 50-some thousand runs that we do as a fire department throughout the city. But we also had advanced technical rescue teams should there be building collapses where somebody would be, secondary to whatever structural integrity damage that we would have to rescue somebody. You've also likely seen the ability for us to respond with the state patrol from our MART team, the medical air response team, and pull people from the bluffs or any other instance where we see people in the city that are having difficulty and need that type of rescue. So the only reason I bring up that team is because if there are protests, sometimes people get very creative in how they lock themselves together, perhaps, et cetera, et cetera. So that we do have special training to make sure that those people are also cared for safely if they get themselves put in a position where they would be stuck or otherwise in a place of danger. So, with that, that's a quick summarization. I know that our time was limited. I want to be respectful, but I think more importantly, and probably most effectively, is to reinforce the partnership that we are ready to and are in place with every single day, but make sure that that your association understands that we are ready to respond, very capable of responding and supporting any needs that develop. But I would like to open it up for questions that are specific to your group, and be respectful again with providing answers. If I don't know them, I will make sure that I follow up with Paris through either Senior Commander Hallstrom or Chris, or however we deem that to be most effective. She's smiling because that's the only person I really know on the meeting. So I apologize about that. So with that, I'd open it up to questions.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us today. Chris, did you have a question to follow up? I have one to start us off, unless,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think part of the reason that they wanted to have you here, Matt, was because some of the businesses on Payne, or the people that feel that they're may be affected more so than others during a riot type situation, they're building contingency plans. And so if they wanted to reach out to the fire department to involve them, for Station 4, Station 17, could they reach out to them and say, hey, we're building a contingency plan in the event there's a riot? Who would they work with? Who should they call?
I think, in Paris, I believe you have my email address, and if not, I can absolutely get that. But Chris, that's a great point, is that a point of contact is necessary for that introduction, if you will. So I would say if they go through me, and then I can push that out to, maybe DSI is the most important or appropriate place for a question like that to go to. Or is it the fire department, and what specifics as far as that contingency plan would be in place? Yep. I can make sure that we get them in contact with the correct captain, what days, what individuals would likely be working at that station, and really even set up a possible opportunity for the company to stop by the business and do a walk through a building or something to that effect. We absolutely have that ability, and that's our job. We love to interact with people and make sure that everybody understands not only what we do, but what they can do to mitigate and be as safe as possible in a scenario like this or any others throughout the year, quite honestly. So does that help answer that question or not?
Absolutely. Right, Paris, you're happy?
Oh, I'm very happy. Yeah, so it would be great for me to have your contact information, and I did not get it in the dialogue back and forth just to set this up, but let's follow up and do that for sure, and we can do that through Senior Commander Hallstrom. This is the question that I would have in follow-up, and Chris, thanks for asking that in that way. We've put some resources together that are on a website that we're directing our members to check on the police department's list that the chief sent out for businesses to start thinking about. Do we have all of our ducks in a row? Are we doing our part in being prepared for this? And what I would just ask is, are there particular things that the fire department would ask of businesses to do that help you do your job in the event that we need you on a call? And those are the kinds of things we'd want to have on that website. Or as you pointed out just now, like if you're thinking about putting contingency plans together and you're not sure your fire plan is up to date here, or what to do, give us a call, make some contact, and let's come out and connect with you. So both of those points of action, I think, make a lot of sense. If you've got some information that would be good for us to post, and I would love to do that. So help our businesses kind of figure out how to take action right now in way of preparation.
Yeah, no, that would be great. I can absolutely look at what the police have put out. But I think some of the things just at first blush from the fire response and even in an EMS response, because we are responsible for both items, would be access to buildings, the key box, the Knox box. Do you have current keys in there if you have that system in place? Those are extremely helpful when we need to gain access to a building if there's not an active fire, but we need to investigate, or if it's something that we can avoid breaking the door. We all know those are very expensive, and windows, any other way we need to breach a building. If we can get in there and mitigate that with the possibility of a Knox box access for a case of point, that's ideal. Is there a building pre-plan that has been done, and somewhat similar to what the contingency plan is? We do pre-plan, so we know where the gas shutoffs are. We know where the access points that are of interest in the building that might cause some sort of threat to the fire department, or really threat for advancing a fire scenario, or a hide, if you will, for somewhere that you as a building owner would really know, and we can point out and have that knowledge going into the fire with a pre-plan. And we love to come out again and do that type of thing as a preventive instance. So for sure.
Yeah, and that's terrific. This is the advantage that I think we have, and Chris, I appreciate your kind of bringing this up in previous meetings. This is an opportunity for us to build a stronger relationship with the fire department, a stronger relationship with the police department, so that we can create a safer East Side, all together. So
100%.
And that's the way I think about this opportunity for us to do this work together. We have some things we need to work on, period, as a community. Let's get our hands around those if we can, and use this as an opportunity when people are getting a little closer to the front of their seat. The problem is people aren't really at the front of their seat yet. A lot of folks are like, you know what, I just hope it doesn't happen. And that's what they're saying to me. Whereas I think they go off the phone and they think, oh my gosh, let me find that checklist. So I think as we try to help put resources in people's hands, having some other points of contact is going to be great. That's going to be really helpful.
Yeah.
Other thoughts, other questions, anyone? I'm not seeing any at the moment. I have dropped the link to the website that we are using and promoting, the stpaulprepared.com, where all of those resources are. And the Knox box is one of them, which is great. That one's on there. But I'd love it if you want to just take a look at what we're posting already and help me know what we could direct people to more specifically. And like I said, happy to post a point of contact if folks want to take a look at their pre-plan, their fire contingency plan. That'd be great.
Yeah, I can just get to know your local fire station. I mean, again, we're approachable. COVID has limited some of that opportunity, but we will absolutely come out and meet. You can stop in the fire stations and introduce yourselves. That goes a long way in both regards. For us getting to know you, you getting to know us and what our capabilities are. And I will talk until everybody is bored to death of what the fire department does. So I'm never having a shortage of opportunity to speak about the fire department, something I've loved for 35 years. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, if you'll let us know best ways for us to direct people, it sounds like, Chris, that's part of your answer for Station 4 and Payne Avenue.
Yeah.
How to get those folks connected is to connect back with the assistant chief and just see what the points of communication might look like there. But it sounds like very welcome to reach out and make those contacts.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're just about ready to close up. Any final announcements or anything else folks want to offer or say? I appreciate your attention and interest in both of these topics. And thank you so much for being on, Assistant Chief Simpson. And thank you for making the connection, Chris and Kurt Hallstrom. Thanks, Randy, for everything. And it'd be fun to kind of connect with you about this. If folks have follow-up, Randy, please put your contact information in the chat too, if you haven't. Drop that in there for us as well here in final. We're just about ready to wrap up. So any final comments or anything else folks have for us today? And thank you so much everyone for being on the show. Go enjoy a beautiful day. All right, let's sign off. Thanks so much everyone. Have a great day. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.